Hi guys, my name is Celeste. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I'm here tonight with my husband, Christian.
What up? I'm Christian. How you doing?
So welcome to our space. This is our cozy home, and we are hanging out here tonight, Sunday night, having a cool old time at home. And we wanted to talk about our weekends because I think we have pretty special, unique weekends. Specifically this weekend, I think generally the past few months it's been weekend after weekend of a lot of DNA activations, a lot of portal energy coming in. And so what the hell does that look like in your lives? How do you deal with that? And how do you even live life like that? And you are my human version of this life, so you keep me super, super grounded. And I really couldn't do any of this type of work without him. So we were hanging out, and I thought it would be a great idea to chat and talk and see what your perspective is like and what mine is like, and to share what a weekend in our life is like.
Yeah, so basically, I think it's important for all of you to know, although we're evolving as humans, we also are still humans and still have a great time as human beings. So we think it's a great opportunity to talk about what we do on a weekend, how we get down, how we have fun, and how we activate, and how we grow, and how we evolve, and how we support each other. So that's really the intent here, to support what Celeste introduced you to.
Yeah. And here we are with our cacao. I brought some extra cacao from Guatemala, so he finished it. A lot of Sunday nights we like to have some nice cacao. I do a nice cacao recipe. I'll do a YouTube video on that later with some Sambo healing. And just connect over that. Feels good.
Yeah. So cacao.
Opens up the heart, and that's been a big thing for us this weekend. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, just starting with Friday. For example, normal thing. I work the entire week. I have a 9-to-5 job. And then on Friday night, I want to take my wife out to eat. So we live on Miami Beach, and basically went to this neighborhood here called Sophie, away from all the spring break craziness, which was fantastic. So we felt sheltered. We went to this cool place called Call Me Gabby. Look it up. Fantastic. And this little girl sucked down an entire pizza, down to the crust. Waiter, may I get more olive oil? We gave her the olive oil, and down to the crust. Oh, she savored it. And me, I had a pot of meatballs and a plate of gnocchi, and it was just a really good time. And that's how we kicked off our weekend. Friday night, like a regular couple. Now, comes Saturday morning, and the activations. So why don't you tell them about your activations and then the monumentousness of yesterday?
Yeah. So, did we start off in the morning with cacao again? No.
Honestly, I don't recall.
No,
but I don't
it
think
just
so.
started. Yeah, it was just one of those
went.
days where I woke up and I just knew. I already felt a lot of energy coming in. I had prepped for the equinox during the week. I had an event. I had fasted the week before. So I knew that there was something coming in. And Saturday morning, I woke up and started to feel a lot of energy coming in. And then I start to connect, and then the messages start to come in. Maybe I'm meditating, maybe not. I'm just kind of starting to feel like in this place of I have to stay still, and my body starts to feel a little bit weak, and the crying comes through. I start to connect a lot with Lemuria. I start to receive a lot of messages, and I felt a huge heart opening. That was for sure when I knew that I had to fully embrace my lineage or my history of Lemuria, my connection to Lemuria, and the work that I have to bring through with Lemuria. And this has been a part of our journey for quite a while. It's just, I think there was like a big explosion yesterday. It just kindly finally came to the forefront. And I broke down on you like I usually do. And I just cried everything out. And that's the message that, to fully step into courageously into everything I've experienced and my connection to light codes and energy healing and sound healing. And after that, we had already planned to visit my mom to have dinner. And it was a great day because after all of that, she had actually reached out to me during the week to ask me, she was curious about ETs. So talking about how she found some guy on TV who connects to ETs and has conversations with them. And so I just decided to jump into that opportunity, take it as my time to jump in and say, hey, cool, I meditate and I kind of do that too. And so that opened up a door, which I knew I've been waiting for that door to open for quite a while. So we went over yesterday and we had a great conversation with her. Pretty eye-opening for everybody. And it was a great way for me to release and open up my truth, and so that we can all understand each other a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to that point, I mean, she doesn't remember shit. So I'm going to step back a little bit here. I remember absolutely everything. So what the opening actually was during the course of the day was talking about valor, was talking about courage, and having enough courage to tell your story like she's doing, forget about it, and be who you are in the world. So I love listening to podcasts. I love Joe Rogan's podcast. Shout out to Joe. And just recently this week, I've been listening to an ex-Navy SEAL named David Goggins. And that dude's just all about facing your fears, like going into the dark side, into your shadows, and like just building like these calluses in your mind that like you could break through anything. He's like an ultra marathonist. It's incredible. Super inspiring. So basically the basis of her activation came from me listening to that. So I was just talking about, and I'm on this kick now, you know, everything. Let's be who we are fully, no apologies. And then that's where we had the conversation where, you know, who we are. Who are we? What are we going to do? You know, why are we here? And I believe that the bridge to that is just having enough courage to be who you are first. So in that conversation, she broke down. This was before we went to my mother-in-law's. And then, yes, very typical thing, we visited family. We haven't seen your mom in what, like 3 months?
Yeah.
And so basically we went there and like you said, we had those conversations and it was very cathartic, you know, for Celeste, for me, you know, having those conversations because it brings more light upon that dark side that you did not want to show.
Yeah.
And that was magnificent. Hence the theme of life lately, which brings us into Sunday.
Yeah. Well, before we go into Sunday, there has been a gap between the way that my parents see me and the way that I am, right? Because throughout this whole process for so many years, there's been a disconnection, right? The things that I've lived and that we've lived together, it hasn't been an open conversation with our parents as to our activations and to our enhancement of consciousness and all the things that we experience, right? It's not a typical conversation that you have on a, you know, regular Sunday morning with your parents over breakfast. So there has been that disconnect. And I recently found out through my sister, who I'm very close with, and my mom had asked, or my brother had asked, you know, is that why, you know, she doesn't love us? So I knew that they don't understand, or they weren't understanding my process and where I am and what I'm going through. So I thought that yesterday was a great way to at least make them understand a little bit more of what we're going through, what I'm going through, and, you know, everybody starts to break down the veils a little bit and understand each other for who they really are. So that was really nice.
Yeah, you came out of the spiritual closet.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and that's tough. That's been really, really hard for me. Very tough.
Exactly.
And you've helped me a ton with that.
Definitely.
Yeah. And
it's also important to come out of the closet as to who you are fully, whatever that means.
Right.
We're all individuals. We're all different.
Yeah.
So you got to come out and be who you are.
Yeah.
Working on it. Work in progress. Ain't there.
Yeah.
Perfect. We ain't perfect yet. You know, it's a very typical thing for parents not to understand, you know, regardless of, you know, where you're at, whether you're having these awareness enhancing events, or, you know, if you're just an individual, you know, who perhaps isn't aware of these things, but is just going through their life and, you know, your parents don't understand you. That's a very typical thing. So, you know, we highly recommend some way, somehow, having that conversation. You know, whatever it is, like, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, as opposed to just going the typical route that your family has gone. You know, perhaps they're immigrants and, you know, they do things and see things a certain way, and you don't want to deter from that because you don't want to be shown by your family. I understand that. I've gone through that. And so perhaps another day I'll tell you about that. Right now we want to focus on, you know, this weekend. But yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Want to talk about Sunday?
Yeah, today. Another very, very strong day of activations, big portal energy again. And I'm completely receptive to it. So, of course, as soon as we woke up, the first idea was let's work out because we love to work out. And we started on that kick again this week recently. And, you know, the mind has all these plans and all these ideas. I'm going to work out. I'm going to take this class. I'm going to get a great workout in. And it just didn't happen. It wasn't able to happen. Again, I started to feel weak internally. Very emotional. I started to have to connect and relax and turn off the mind and tune into the heart. And so, what else?
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, and this is nuts, I think I'm a regular guy, but I'm going to talk to you about Lemuria. Okay, Lemuria is the perceived ancient civilization that also predates Atlantis. We're talking about the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of years ago. There is a work of literature out there called the Lemurian Scrolls, and they say 4 million years ago when the Earth still didn't really fully materialize, that was like in a higher dimension, a higher frequency, more etheric, not solid. The Earth was basically just water, and it had a core that was solid. And these etheric beings came down from the star system called the Pleiades, and they basically seeded civilization as we know it. So humanity started out as these etheric beings, you know, very love and heart-focused, you know, moving through, you know, all these millions of years into what we are today. You know, these maybe too logical, left-brained kinds of beings, and now making this shift with beautiful people like my wife Celeste to a more heart-centered kind of humanity. So that's been enhancing. So, you know, that's a little background that I know about Lemuria, but I know that Lemuria is so prevalent within my wife, and the connection to Hawaii is just tremendous. So we're going to Hawaii 2 months from today, which is literally the 7th anniversary of when we met here in Miami, Florida. I was still living in Brooklyn at the time, visiting my friend. And it's been an incredible 7-year journey. You know, it's definitely one of those things, you know, 7-year cycle comes to an end. It starts anew.
Master number.
And it has a lot to do with Lemuria and Hawaii. And that was the basis of the openings today, which led us to take action and also inquire about different things about Hawaii and Lemuria, our upcoming trip, and potential plans for the very near future, even as soon as this summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to tell them about those plans? You want to tell them about what we did today? You want to tell them about what we discovered?
Well, you can go for it. I can talk a little bit about just a little bit more about the activations.
Go for it.
Just how we help each other with that, because I think some of you guys may be experiencing that, or maybe it's something new. Sometimes I feel that it's not so clear how our weekends go. So like we said, right, sometimes we have these plans, but you wake up and even though you had plans, you couldn't go through with them because now there's a portal, now there's activations, and here I am crying, or here I am in a deep state of meditation, and, you know, he's holding space for me, and then we take turns, and then he'll connect, and I'll hold space for him. And, yeah, I just think it's important to be okay with that, because I think it took us a long time in the beginning, in the first few years. You know, weekends are very sacred for us, and we do like to make plans, and we do like to enjoy life, but at the same time, we have to move around and we have to play around with this energy that comes in and out. And although we may want to do certain things, sometimes, you know, these portals come in and the activations come in and you feel them. And sometimes they'll knock you out, and sometimes you have to sleep. Sometimes you have to meditate. Sometimes you just have to relax and drink some cacao or drink some tea and hang out. And I just want to make that clear that to be here for each other, I think has helped us a lot, especially for me, for you to hold that space for me. It's allowed me to be okay with the process. And I think you've been more okay with it for a very long time until I was okay with being okay with it. And that's how we help each other. And so I would love to hear from you guys to see how you have someone who supports you, or you support someone else, or if you have someone that supports. I think it's very important to be able to share that with someone.
Yeah, with somebody, whether it's a significant other,
yeah,
whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member. This ain't easy.
No.
It's very atypical, what Celeste and myself and others are going through in terms of evolving,
yeah,
into a different kind of human.
Yeah.
And it's very important to definitely have that support system behind you.
Yeah.
And again, this conversation's about, the activations and the evolution of us as humans. But also, I come in, as, I perceive myself to be a grounded individual, very earthy, very in tune with, humanity. And I love people, and I love interacting with people and relationships and conversations and discussions and laughs. So, there's also that human side. So not only, do you activate and evolve, but you know what? There's a world out there. And with these activations comes the responsibility of going out there and, holding that frequency and, being that awesome person. So, that's what we're here to bring forth as well. Not only are you evolving, but you're a person still. And you got to go out there in the world, and you have to interact, and you have to guide, and you have to teach, and you have to be a light out there.
Yeah.
That's the responsibility of evolving as a human. So that's our intention of what we would like to bring forth to you all.
Yeah. And that's been our weekend.
That was our weekend.
Lots of activations, Lemuria, connections, good talks, sacred cacao.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, the cool stuff that we did today. So this will be the last thing. We'll let you go. So the last thing is really, number one, we discovered that in Kauai, where we went to 2 years ago, known as the Garden Isle in Hawaii, we spent 2 weeks there. There's a kahuna woman who's supposedly a direct descendant of these Pleiadian people that we spoke about at the beginning of the video. And she does readings, and she's just she's a good vibe. We saw in an interview she had with somebody, and she's just a good vibe, super wise, super practical, also very human, very lighthearted and joyous, and she likes to joke around. And it was pretty impressive to have found her, today, this weekend, after, the revelation coming out of the spiritual closet, Lemuria coming, to the forefront. And this is like the ideal person for Celeste to interact with, to bring forth whatever it is that she has on the inside. So we're excited that this person exists. We'll find a way to connect for sure. And the future is very bright. And appreciate you bringing me onto the video scene.
Yeah, we have to do this more often. Maybe we'll do like a Sunday talks.
See what happens.
Sunday chats over cacao.
We'll go with the flow. But this is really cool. And thank you for all of your support. Appreciate everybody listening in. And hopefully this video serves as a help for those of you that are evolving, activating, into a more advanced version of a human, to show you that there's a world out there too. And that, we need you to go out there and be the light, but it's also important that you have somebody who supports you. So, buckle up. Be courageous, speak your truth, be who you are, make it happen.
We're all working on that together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, have a blessed week, everybody. Last week of March. Mercury goes direct this week, so that's exciting. Good communication, good plans, good technology.
Peace out, Cub Scout.
All right, blessings.